Before the Bounce, SA only footy sports covering AFL, SANFL, Amateurs, SA Country League, plus On the Couch with Ando, stock reports, all this and plenty more before the Bounce starts now. In our first segment, AFL, brought to you from a good mate, Davey Benson. Good bloke, Dave, too, by the way, Matty, and welcome, Matty Knight, King of the North.
How you going, mate?
Got a bit of a surprise for me. I hear you just sort of in the background there, just having a bit of a snigger about our AFL segment. Guess what's going on?
Well, mate, tonight we're going to talk all about yourself.
Really?
So
all about me?
Yeah, as the show is, all about you, Ando. So,
wow.
Mate, you know, it will. Tonight we're going to interview you. So we'll flip the coin on yourself.
Okay, I like it.
So, mate, talk us through early years. You were zoned to Woodville, but you've ended up at Port Adelaide. Talk us through that.
Yeah, well, we moved to West Lakes, and that in those days was the Woodville zone, and so I was sort of planning on playing under 15s with Woodville, and then it was actually funny enough I was about to sign a scholarship, and the zones changed, and all of a sudden I'm in Port zone, and the opportunity, arose that they said, look, we'd like to offer you a scholarship as well, and now you'll be one of our on our players list. So that was it was good. I was always a Port supporter. I was brought up at Cheltenham. My dad played probably 100 reserve games. I think he played one SANFL game for
so you beat him.
Port. I had him covered. My grandfather played Colts down at Port Adelaide. So the whole history for us was Port. We were Port mad as a family. So for them to say, look, you can't go to Woodville, you're zoned to Port Adelaide, I was probably pretty happy.
Pretty happy with that. Yeah. And just going back even further, I heard a story last week, school footy, just talk us through what the coach, some of the rules he used to have in place for you in terms of where you're allowed to run and on the field.
Well, I always thought I was allowed to run everywhere, but there was, he used to put cones out just about that I could only run between there and there. It was probably only about probably from the square, and that was really about it, because I was a bit of a hog. I must admit that. I thought I had a bit of speed and loved bouncing, and I thought most of my teammates were there to shepherd me. So anyway, they had to sort of work out a way of saying, well, Greg, it's funny enough, not all about you, and because I was out there trying to get a kick. So it was good fun. Look, I was at St Michael's College. I absolutely loved it, and we actually went through a really successful first 18 with my father actually coaching. I had Wayne Marnie, Shane Peel, who played for West Torrens, and Paul Sonor, whose lad is out at the Eagles. We had a pretty good side. And
I heard, my source tells me that actually you ignored the coach's direction completely and still ran the field.
Yeah, it meant nothing to me. It meant nothing to me, no.
And mate, in your time at Port, how many flags were you involved with?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play in 2 flags with the Magpies, and it was fantastic. We lost 84 against Nord, which a lot of people say was a great grand final in the era, and sort of went down by a few points. And I still remember Rocky Roberts. I'm pretty sure he ran over the Barringer line, but the umpire said play on, and of course he kicked that goal and put him in front, and she was a pretty close one. It was a great game and great to be part of, and unfortunately. Having many years later win a premiership is a lot better on the winning end, let me tell you. Yeah.
No, that's it, mate. And just from another source as well, the rumour has it that you've actually ended David Granger's career at Port Adelaide in a pre-season time trial.
Well, it was funny about that, because we're doing 400s, and what I was doing is, in those days I was young and fit. I was 16, and I was sort of coming out the back, and then just in the last 100 I'd sort of try to take over the group and get in the top little finishes, and I hit the back straight, and I was starting to get the gallop going, and went to pass Granger, and he nearly broke my ankle when he kicked my ankle, and I went about four tumbles, nearly broke my neck, shoulder. And everyone sort of laughed, and of course this is Dave Granger. I'm a young kid. My first it was actually my first ever pre-season night. And so anyway, they called over Dave a bit later. Probably only about 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he's done he'd done a burnout in the car park, and he got sacked. But it wasn't because of me. It was because of the apparently he got reported the year earlier, and the club did say if he got reported again, that we're going to rule the Iron Fist and.
They stuck by their word.
They stuck by their word. But yeah, for a moment there, I thought, oh, geez, I might have to catch a train home or get disguised to get out of this place. I thought, hang on, mate, was it because he tripped me up? But no.
Yeah.
He was, and he was one of my favourite players. Grave danger. Oh my God, he was number 18. Just great to be on the supporter side and just cheering him on. He was a really talented footballer. Great player for Port Adelaide.
Absolutely, mate. And Ando, obviously, with the show, we can't do it without the sponsors. MGA Insurance, for all your personal and commercial insurance needs, mate. Give them a call today for a quote, and you got Steve McInerney down there who'll help you out.
Yeah, no, good guys down there. They'll look after you.
So, no, beautiful, mate. And obviously, then from Port Adelaide, you've headed over to Essendon. What was that experience like?
It was. I was a bit in awe, really, in the way of sort of going there. I remember parking at the front of Windy Hill, and it's like the grandstand's 4 stories high, and I thought, oh my God, this is a beast. And there's Terry Danaher and Simon Madden and Tim Watson and Daisy Williams, Glenn Hawker, Paul Salmon, Mark Harvey. They were just household names, just rolling up the training. I think, wow, these are my new teammates.
Yeah.
And it was hard going. I mean, it was. Every guy was fit and just as strong, and you really had to work. Really, it brought the toughness out of you to win your spot.
Yeah.
And I think that was certainly the difference. It was a big business over there.
Yeah. So how old were you when you made the trip over?
I think it was 21, 22, and it was interesting. A lot of the players like your Kernahan Bradleys, Platten, Motleys, and Nayleys, and it was great. It was really successful in state footy, and it was a great era of footy. But we all seemed to go a little bit older. It was a lot tougher game back there. I'm not saying it's better or worse. But there were some really big bodies. You're playing on Dipper Domedicos and your Darren Mullanes and Doug Hawkins, and there were some really big guys out there. So and it was just week in, week out, relentless.
Yeah. And obviously over there you got to live with Gavin Wanganeen. What was that like?
Yeah, Gavin was a really close friend of mine, and coming from Port Adelaide, the club asked us whether we could billet Gavin, and we had a spare room, like a bit of a granny flat at the back of our place, and was just perfect. And we became really close friends, and he was just really starting to get his act together, playing for the Bombers, and wow, he was was really exciting player, and he was a really good guy. I'll never forget there was a time when it was before a game, and I was just in a little corner. I was very quietly, like in the medical room, and he's like, Greg, are you there? And I said, oh, yeah, Gavin. He goes, I just want to say, I've said a prayer for you. I said, oh, that's really nice of you, Gavin. Thank you, mate. That was the way he was brought up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next morning I knocked on his door, and we had a great win. It was a fantastic game. I knocked on the door. I said, well, Gavin, obviously you gave yourself a bigger prayer because you got best on ground, and I ended up fourth or fifth. But he's a really great bloke.
And you touched on the Danaher brothers, mate. Just how tough of competitors were they?
Wow, I was lucky enough to play in that game against St Kilda at Moorabbin Oval when the four of the brothers were playing, and it was very emotional, like really emotional game. And we got out of the blocks, like Carl Lewis. We were never going to lose that game. We had a really big battle with them at Windy Hill in round one. Yep. And we actually thought, well, our backs are against it. We're at Moorabbin, and we just played superb footy, and everything was just for the Danaher fan, it was like a fairy tale. All the Danahers played well. We had a great win, and it was. I think it was the last round of the year too. I think it was like round 22. So we went on to play the finals, and I think Neil didn't get picked in the next game, but what a brilliant achievement by the Danaher family.
Fantastic to be a part of, and you've obviously played or been involved with 3 clubs, with Port obviously before being in the AFL, and Crows, and the Bombers as well. At the moment, where does your allegiance lie?
Well, they both lost on the weekend, and the Bombers won. So maybe I'll go with the Bombers this week. I've been really lucky. I mean, it was really interesting with the Crows, because when I went to the Crows, it was one team, one town, and as much as people thought it must be like Hollywood, everyone's patting you on the back, you know, when things got tough, you know, we really had to support each other, and you know, there were so many close friendships because of actually the tough times, more so than just the good times, especially when it was one team, one town. And you know, I think we had a bit of a losing streak there for a while. Might have been 3 or 4 losses in a row, and I just remember the advertisers just caning us. It was just ruthless and relentless. And I won't mention who the rider was, but I just thought it was really just disgraceful how he spoke about players that still gave 100%, but we just weren't gelling. We just were having a bad patch. And but the other side of the coin, we really grew some great friendships, and we needed to support each other. And you always got something special. You know, it was a really special part of the weren't winning, but we all know, you know, football brings friendships and camaraderie, and it certainly brought that in that particular circumstance for me, especially. Yeah.
No, beautiful, mate. Well, thank you very much, Ando, for doing a segment on your show, on your own show. So, thank you very much, mate, and we'll obviously be back with plenty more.
Is Dave Benson happy with that though? Because he's got to say, Ando? No, oh, you can't be serious. Dave, thank you for being patient. Good on you, mate, for sponsoring us. And now we've got the SANFL segment, thanks to Peter Page Holden and Matty. We're live at the Alma, and of course one of our guests, Luke Page, is with us again. So it's fantastic. It's just great atmosphere, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it? 2 weeks in a row. He's probably our most loyal supporter after with my parents at the moment. So it's good fun.
Matt, I do want to introduce you to Steve Jaguar. You know, one of my favourite players when you know, I was playing against and before I started playing. Great era for you. You know, down at the Peckers and yourself and Maxie Parker and Ralphie Sewer and some of the great names.
Yeah, we had some household names for sure. But I started as a youngster and we were still the Peckers, and then we went to the Warriors. And
of course, yeah.
My last year was the year of the amalgamation with West Torrens. So I actually played for one club, but one team with 3 different clubs. So
3 different club songs as well.
Well, we didn't think very often. We used to have to pass around the sheet for the words. But no, it was a great time, and it was a difficult time because we weren't very strong. So to play league footy.
But that's interesting you say that though, because it's interesting because you'll play Port Adelaide, and quite often you'll beat us. And we were at the top, and then you go and play a team down the bottom, and then you'll lose. It was. I think you had the playing list, but for some reason you just never really had the consistency.
Yeah, it's a good question. No one's got the answer. And if we had the answer, we probably it wouldn't have happened. But my first 6 league seasons we were bottom.
Yeah, so that's not good.
So to play bottom every week and to struggle, it's just so difficult. And then go to work back in those days and get sledged because you played for Woodville, big deal and all that. Yeah. And then we'd build ourselves up for some big games against Port down the road. And that was probably a highlight when we could get a win against Port Machine.
Done a few times.
Yeah. And Steve, you reeled off, I know Ando's reeled off some good names there, but in terms of characters in that decade, what were some of the biggest ones around?
Oh, well, obviously Ralph Sewer gets a mention every time. To play 4 decades, amazing.
He was a great player. I mean, a lot of people don't realise how great a player he was.
Once again, he played for the bottom side. Yeah. He played half forward flank, probably the hardest spot on the ground.
No question, those days.
Just to play state, I think he played 12 or so state games. Yeah. He was just a freak. You know, he was a ball of muscle. Couldn't kick on his right foot much, didn't have to. He was a left footer. But you know, he got a lot of attention with his antics off the field. But unfortunately, as long as people don't forget how good he was on the field and off the field, he's still probably the most loyal, great, friendly, caring man you have ever seen. If anyone was in hospital, family, friends, he'd be the first one to be at the hospital. Yeah. He's still feeding some of the past players food, and he's just retired from the fire brigade, and he's just a magnificent man. But he was certainly a character. But we had Maxie Park, and we had Lindsay Heavens, we had,
of course,
even Kevin Harris, who came from down from the Mount. He was off the field a very quiet man, on and off. But he could just, once you found these little intricacies that these guys did, they're amazing fellas, rippers.
A couple of your great wins.
Well, wasn't many, but obviously in '86, after we had some turmoil. It was going into my 7th season, so 6 bottom seasons. And our first, I think we were bottom after the first 5 games, won 1 out of 4, and then we went on a roll and we ended up winning 13 out of 15 games to get beaten by Glenelg in the prelim.
That's right,
The
yeah.
whole state got behind us because we were everyone's second team.
Yeah, it's very true, yeah.
Which was terrible. We would rather be like Port, be hated because we were so good, but because we were a little bit average, everyone loved us and we got to win. So that 86, to get on that roll was an amazing feeling.
And you beat us at Port at Footy Park by a point.
Yeah.
That was a cracking game.
Yeah, so beating Northern in Port and just got beaten by Glenelg. So it was an amazing time at the club, and to go from the bottom
To
go the
really,
top was
enjoy the
rewarding
success.
for all of us.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah.
And Steve, you played in the 80s, probably still looking back on tapes and that, probably my best favourite decade to watch in terms of the footy that was played. How good was that to be a part of?
Well, I mean, we talk about it quite often, that the footy itself was unbelievable. Like, you were so tough and so hard, and you would actually sort of cop a couple and you'd give a couple.
Yeah, of
But
course.
it went through an era where you could really go across that line and it was war.
Yeah.
But the greatest part was that off the field you could really mix with your opposition, and being Western Suburbs, obviously we had Torrens next to us, West Adelaide, Glenelg, Port, and we could go to pubs and nightclubs and sort of kill each other on the field, sort of not quite love each other off, but we could certainly have a beer and enjoy our company. And I think the era then was an amazing era to be able to have that mix.
Because I actually thought you were playing for Russ a couple of times at the Findon nightclub on a Monday night, by the way, Steve.
Well, the problem with me is they reckon they brought touches off and on. And that was a real drama. I wish it was the other way around. So.
Now, you got coached by the legend Malcolm Blight. I mean, it would have been fantastic. I'm sure you got a couple of good stories about Malcolm in his time there.
Yeah, well, Malcolm we had him for 5 years.
Yeah.
And there's many stories going around how tough Malcolm was, and those stories don't portray it one little bit. He was twice as hard as
Is that right?
He was a hard man.
Yeah.
He coached with a lot of passion,
Yep.
and it was difficult for him probably to see someone like myself out there making errors which he would never make.
Yeah.
And then he'd get frustrated at that, and he would vent his frustrations with voice and
Emotion and just,
I'll leave it probably at that at this stage. You can speak to the Geelong, you speak to the Crows, you speak to all the Woodville boys, they'll be able to tell you a million stories of who didn't cop a spray. But clearly in '86 when we started winning, then he became a ripper bloke.
Yeah, that's right.
And a ripper coach, and he sort of eased off us a lot because it was. If you've ever coached, and I know you have, it's frustrating, and you see people out there making errors which you don't want to berate them, but it does frustrate you. And Malcolm let
It's a fine line, isn't it?
There was no fine line back in the 80s.
No,
Especially this day and age, it's a lot more of a fine line.
Yes, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it did. I know it really worked when they done that circle and kept Matty Connell, wasn't it, from the Crows? They sort of kicked him out of that circle at Princes Park, and of course he left at three-quarter time, I think, against West Coast Eagles. But it didn't seem to work when he made him the St Kilda side train after a game, and that just didn't work for him. So
But that's coaching.
Yeah, that's coaching.
You
Yeah.
try a million things, and that's one thing Malcolm always did. He had millions of things. Like at one day we played against your bloody mob at Footy Park, and at three-quarter time, he told the trainers to get lost, go away. We're all buggered from chasing you black and white mongrels around, and he told everyone to nick off, and he said our skill level was that poor. I want you to go on the 50 line and see if you can kick the ball to each other in a single file, end-to-end kicking. And we just, no, he's not serious.
No,
well,
he was serious.
He certainly told us in no uncertain terms. So there we were at three-quarter time, kicking the ball, and you're absolutely panicking that you're going to make an error because then everyone would be watching you and the little. So that was. It
didn't help, but
in the last quarter, but so but he tried lots of things that didn't work as well. So in the end, and then I had Russell Eve at the year.
Of course you did,
after that. So from the hardest man in the world to one of the nicest men in the world.
Yeah.
But they still got their act.
And you won the pre-season grand final, the premiership. That would have been something pretty special for the club and yourself.
That was against Port.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was coming back from an injury, so I didn't play in it. But we had a reunion not long ago, and the sad thing is we had to have a reunion for a pre-season game. Port down the road are having 8 premierships. We had one for a pre-season one. So, but as you said before about the players.
But you would have had a reunion about them from the Packers nightclub though, because because more reports.
Yeah, there's a few
Mate,
of us
number
got
one,
members
you're a
of that.
number one card holder. You, don't worry about it.
Always wanted to be Rocky Butterworth.
Is that right? Yeah, good looking bloke and
number
6'4" and yeah.
He definitely got more touches off than I.
Is that right?
100%.
And obviously through the 80s, played with played against and with some absolute superstars of the game. Who were some of those, and who did you find probably the most intimidating?
Well, my first game was against Port as a little 18-year-old kid, and I've always been a Port supporter
Yeah.
like you did, my parents, and black and white. And so to stand my first game, Russell Ebert,
Yeah.
and I had his jump on my back in my backyard, kicking the ball, making out I was him. I wanted to go up and give him a hug and say, hello, Mr. Ebert. And,
Tackle him and say sorry.
well, try and tackle Russell when he was built like a
good luck.
stick.
Oh.
And, my friends were in the stand, and Russell went for a ball, and I went to stop him, and he just went like that, and I went flying, and they were all crying with laughter, going, there's his hero, just pushed him out the way. But there was, obviously Russell was a great player, but there's many of them. But the toughest guy I had was Danny Jenkins from Norwood.
Yeah. He was at Cap Dornley, Danny. He was a great player.
I had a sort of half a good first half, and Barn was coaching, and then put Jenkins onto me in the second half, and I couldn't get a kick.
Yeah,
and
just shadowed you.
He wasn't the biggest bloke, but he was tough and he was hard, and I just couldn't get a kick after that. So he obviously his teammate McIntosh, he was tough as he comes.
He was tough. You're pretty tough. Don't worry about it. You're in the same vein. Let me tell you.
Oh no! I just think when you grow up in those days, it's like a bit of a sink or swim. You got no choice. That when you get called upon, you've got to go. So.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate
Before the bounce. Thanks very much. See you back shortly. And now we're talking Adelaide Football League, and with me I've got Steve Pollock from Glenunga. Steve, welcome, mate. Fantastic. You played down at Gamaraka as a youngster. Went to North Adelaide, and wow, you've had some success with Glenunga Footy Club, haven't you, over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, this is my first year.
Oh, is it first year? Is it? Yeah, but the club in
yeah.
itself is very powerful. Yeah.
It definitely is. It's been a bit of a whirlwind over the last couple of years. Got a couple of friends there, so
Yeah.
I've followed them very closely. And,
Yeah.
I thought try and take to the next level, Division 2. So.
You played for North Adelaide. You played some league footy there. That would have been a big thrill for yourself.
Yeah, definitely was. Yeah, I probably had a tougher path than a lot of other people. I played almost 90 reserves games before I got my first league game.
Wow, okay.
Battled along and ended up only getting a handful of league games, but
Fantastic,
meant
yeah.
to me. So
Yeah.
that was the pinnacle that I could make, and that was. Yeah,
Oh, well done. That was brilliant. Yeah.
And we can't forget the great sponsors of the show as well, mate.
Flight
Amateur
Centre?
Footy, Flight Centre.
Good people, real good people.
You'd do plenty of travelling with them, mate.
I do a lot with them, actually. I do a lot with them. I'm going to Melbourne in a couple of weeks. I rang Flight Centre up.
That's
and
it.
I honestly did. Good people.
Very good, mate. Obviously, Steve, you said you spent a couple of years up in Sydney.
Yep.
What was the move up there for?
Yeah, so I played a year in the NEFL in, I think it was around 2012, and I always had a bit of a burning desire to go back and actually try football over there, because the entry levels are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because again, there's not as big a knowledge base in New South Wales. So I went back after doing some stuff with the Sydney Swans Academy, and through Paul Roos and Chris Smith, they got me a job at UNSW coaching. Through that, I ended up taking a team from over 2 years from bottom to top, which was great. We ended up winning the premiership last
Wow,
year,
that's
and
great.
brought a number of Adelaide-based people into the club. Darren Pfeiffer, Jesse H, and brought them down as well. So, and then fortunately enough, in my first year there, I was also the runner for the Sydney Swans. So I managed to pull that gig through Josh Franco.
Is that a goal that you would like at after your football career to sort of obviously head into coaching?
Yeah, look, I put my toe in the water to start with over there, and it's definitely a very stressful job.
Yeah.
I don't recommend player coaching to anyone.
You did a pretty good job though, by the way. You did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things I think I just need to settle down back in Adelaide and then probably look to the future and see what happens.
So you actually were the runner for the Swans?
Yep.
How'd that come about?
So
what a great experience, my God, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I was very lucky, and as you guys know, in the footy world, you don't just get given those.
No.
You sort of earn them. And I was out there helping out at trainings, because I went over there with a shoulder injury, and I was on workers' compensation. So I went over there and I just helped out through Josh Franco and Stewie Jew, who I knew, and I literally picked up cones and dirty tops, and just did it for 3 months. The runner happened to go down, and I got a call from Horst Longmire saying, "Would you like to do the job?" And I was very flattered, and and of course said yes. So.
And what was that like to be around an AFL elite playing group week in, week out, or day to day really?
Yeah, it was phenomenal, really.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that until you're in the inner sanctum.
Yep.
But another thing that probably was very polarising for me, that is I noticed that football doesn't change. That was probably the biggest thing for me. I never made it to the top level, had all my good mates make it, and they always said, no, it's not all it's cracked up to be, or they'd say it is great, or they'd say footy doesn't change. But until you actually see it and you learn what the coaches say and hear what they say, you go, it actually gave me confidence in my own coaching ability. But yeah, it was great experience.
And all the rules, I mean, how difficult was it for you to be a runner? You've got rules. Were you pretty scot-free of everything you sort of done on the field, or did you give a 50 away, or you bumped the umpire over, or
I think it was round 5 I gave away.
There you go, beautiful, beautiful.
And unfortunately, it's the one they seem to replay every time they put the runner out there and they hang him out to dry. So yeah, that was a bit of their time. So.
And you spent, as you said, spoke about with North Adelaide and Nord, spent a lot of time getting that senior selection. What made you stick it out for as long as you did with obviously playing reserves footy?
I think it came from my father, and he sort of said, make your own choices, and he was very big on, you leave when you're ready to leave.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of pressure from friends, from country clubs.
Of course, imagine that.
And a lot of people telling you you're not good enough, just give up. And I like the professionality of the SANFL, and I wasn't happy playing reserves, but I prefer to play reserves footy in a clean, professional area.
Especially when your goal is still to play your league game.
That's right. That's right.
How close were you were you, a few times obviously you must have been close.
Yeah.
And so it would have been really devastating when you didn't get it on the Friday morning in the paper.
Yeah, so the hardest thing probably was at Nord. I grew up a passionate Nord supporter, and I played 76 reserves games before I left that club, and I was in emergency a couple of times.
Yeah.
I played a lot of the Crows League trials, used to play against them, and I just couldn't seem to break in. It was hard because the league was bottom and the reserves were top.
Okay.
And I couldn't, and I was playing good football, and I'm proud to say that, but I just...
The balance wasn't,
couldn't get a game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
So crossing that white line for the first time for North Adelaide must have been just fantastic.
Yeah,
just,
it was.
Running out there through the race, everyone's there to support the league side, and you're out there.
Yeah, it was great. It was against South Adelaide.
And how'd it go? How'd it go? Did you got a few possessions and?
Yeah, well, I actually played okay, about 15 possessions. I put us in front with a minute to go as well. So I guess I'd say kicked the winning goal. And
really?
Yeah. So that was a pretty good day and a pretty good experience. And yeah, it was just quite surreal. I got the supporters award at the end of the game.
Oh, and fantastic!
It just sort of was a bit of a fairy tale for me.
Good debut.
Because I quite often you always hear about the players that that could have made it, but they didn't, and they went and played some great amateur footy, which is fine. Yep. But I always think that when you're retired and your playing career is only a short period, and then you're retired for a long time, to put your elbow on that bar to say I got the most out of my ability and I got what I wanted. I didn't take the easy option, and I ran out on a dozen odd occasions to play league footy. Oh, well done, fantastic.
Thanks,
yeah.
mate. No, it's good. It's one of those things that I from the age of 25, I gave it my all, and I could walk away any day after that point.
Yeah.
With my footy career. So and I think that's what I mentor a lot of young guys. I've brought a number of guys down from Sydney playing at North Adelaide now.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, leave when you're ready, and I said, just don't live with any regrets. I've got a lot of mates in the hills that wish they came down.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
It's.
But you're a league player.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I'm very proud of that.
Steve, obviously we talked about the working for a long period of time and those offers from country clubs and that, and it's probably more happening more and more now. How do you see the state of SANFL reserves football at the moment compared to when you were around?
Yeah, so I was in the realm of under 17s and under 19s.
Yep.
And for me, the under 19 year was a good year because it was probably where I went at Gangley and last growth spurt, and I actually needed that year to still be a part of an SANFL club.
Yeah.
I had a number of guys when it went to 18s push back to amateurs, and they just dropped
out of their
off.
depth a bit, and they just weren't matured at that stage, and that's always been an argument, isn't
but
it?
The hardest thing is I noticed the reserves age just going down and down and down. I remember being 23 out there and looking around for about 3 weeks in a row, and I was the oldest player, and it became a lot more of a development league. I think it's actually taking a bit of a shift now, as a lot of older guys I've played against are actually going back, and they're playing in the reserves, and trying to get back into the league sort of standard, and I think it's great. I think you do need those older heads because it does harden the young reserves players up. So.
Gununga, it's a great club, and I think it's won the last couple of flags, and they've come up now, and you've enjoyed it. It's
it's been good. It probably runs parallels to the club I was in Sydney. It's a very, very affluent area, as well a young and up-and-coming club. And I had some friends out there, and I wanted to take a step back in my football, and Glenunga seemed to fit pretty well. And I've been there; they've been nothing but phenomenal to me. And they're a great club, and it's a really, as we're going on, really tight-knit bunch of guys, and we're starting to get everything together off the field. And obviously, the juniors coming through are one of the biggest clubs in South Australia. So, if we can just, like I said, it's now starting to come together. I can see, in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be.
I can see you captain coaching out there in the next 3 or 5 years. Don't worry about that.
I haven't just heard he's enjoying the atmosphere in that. I've just been told by the president 2 games he's already kicked 14. So
not quite 14, almost. Yeah.
So you're enjoying it?
12, so
kicking plenty.
Yeah, I know. It's good. It's. I don't really care who kicks the goals. It's just sort of fall my way a little bit sometimes.
Wherever I got the ball went for
reckons
goal.
it's rubbish.
Whenever I got, I went for goal.
I don't let the 50 too much now, so I'm always in range.
Yeah,
that's the way to be.
Now, Paul Roos, you're mentioning Paul Roos, obviously a mentor as well, and terrific guy. We all have heard Paul speak on the media and love what he's done for football. Yep. Obviously, he's influenced you as well.
Yeah, he's been great. He was head of the academy, Swans Academy, when I was there. And what I found really interesting about Paul was he would take the opinions on of people who a lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah.
He'd ask he'd quite often just contact me out of the blue and say, "What do you think of this?" And I'd be like,
"Wow,
okay." I was like, "But
how
what
good."
He empowered me. And he actually made me feel confident in my own ability. And he'd go, "Okay, cool." He'd then sometimes take that, and you could see he'd use it places, but it's great, he understands that everyone's got an opinion, and I guess it's up to him to filter what he believes is right and wrong. But I think there's some good opinions out there from people that probably aren't asked. So.
Steve, thanks very much for coming in. Absolutely fantastic. Now, what we're going to do this year, we're going to have a beer at the SANFL function, which is a yearly function, and you played SANFL, and you'll get on the North Adelaide table. I'm on the Port one, but we're going to go over and we're going to have a couple of beers.
Sounds good, Greg.
You deserve it. You really do.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Back shortly. And welcome back to the Country Footy Roundup, and that's brought to you by the Exchange Hotel at Gawler. In fact, Matty, my old mate Damien owes me a counter.
He still owes you one, mate. We're going to be there in the next couple of weeks, so
beautiful.
We'll be making sure he's got one ready for you.
Nothing better.
How's it going to go with your CrossFit? You'll slide that in, cheat meal?
A few more burpees the following night, and a couple more push-ups. I'll work it off.
And we've got Ryder Eberhard here, mate, from the Anguston Footy League club, I should say, out of the Barossa Footy League, down in my neck of the woods. Good young talent. You've seen the size of him already, mate. Good key position.
Central's junior.
Yeah,
that's right. So Central's junior. So that would have been fantastic to go from Anguston and go to the big smoke, I suppose, with Central Districts being such a powerful club. So that would have been a great experience.
You picked up so early as well. They really work from 14s all the way up through 18s. They give you plenty of opportunity, and to look into the league and the reserves and the way they do it, they really play the juniors really well.
Fantastic.
And Ryder, you played obviously through the state teams as well, so you played 15 state. As a young kid, travel interstate to play, who were some of the bigger names that are now in the AFL that you played with at that age?
So I played with, first of all, Jack Graham. I think played 5 games, then won a flag with Richmond.
Yeah, that's what I did too. Yeah, that's a pretty handy start to his career.
I played with Benny Jarman as well. We went straight to the Crows. It was good to be around those guys to see how they operate as well. They were clearly a class above. You saw what you had to do to be at that next level. And
then you obviously through 16s, 18s, and struggled a little bit with injuries down at Centrals, but you held on.
Yeah. So look, just a couple of unfortunate injuries at unfortunate times, and it was hard. But they got a really good system down there as well, with rehab and rehabilitation the whole way through. Got some great doctors, great medical staff.
It is a fine line though when you're young and you just get that injury at the sort of the wrong time, and you got to work with the rehab, etc., etc. So
debilitating sometimes. But at the same time, if you got good people around you as well, I had to go through it a couple of times, and you learn pretty quickly that as long as you can get people around you that pick you up and help you out, you're always that much better off.
And mate, you then cracked into Resies. How many Resies games did you end up playing?
I wouldn't have a clue. It'd be around anywhere 15, something like that.
And what sort of experience was that against the bigger bodies?
Yeah, that was good. I remember the first game I was probably only 16 or 17 or something like that. Went straight in and happened to line up an absolute behemoth. He would have been 6'5".
Oh, really?
He was at least 100 kegs, and I was no chance from the start. But
so, what's your favourite position? Well,
so I started at half back and then I worked my way somewhere to half forward.
Yeah, and that's all rotations, isn't it? Like that's
Yeah, a lot of times, especially at sample level, everyone's got to be able to play most positions. So you send the half backs and the half forwards on a rotation.
Was that hard to learn? I mean, coming from juniors at Angaston and coming to Centrals and learning this probably this new style of game where you're going to spend time half forward and time on the wing and then time off and resting, recovering, and then sort of on this rotation. Was that difficult?
Definitely,
Yeah.
especially going from juniors where you're one position, you might be centre half back for a whole year and you
That's
don't
right.
move and you don't
Yeah.
change, and you get so locked into your spot having to go down and might be 5-6 positions in one day, and the game might change 4 or 5 times, and you got to adjust every 20 seconds just to understand what's going on around you. You've got to be in a state of hyper awareness just to know what's going on.
And Ryder, let's move on. This year you're 21. You've gone back to Angaston. Some massive recruits this year, but yourself and also Ryan Carnelli, who are both Angaston juniors, both have played 2 big games to start your time back. How good has it been going back to the club, and talk us through some of the big recruits this year?
It's been brilliant. To credit Angaston, I think me and Ryan have spent a lot of time there. We're always welcomed back with open arms, and it makes it that much easier at the end of the day to go, where do I want to play my footy? And it's with the good people, and the good people have always been at Angaston, and they've welcomed us back straight away. We've slotted in like we never left, and it's been really easy to play.
Well, watching them both play round 1, Ando, Ryan Carnelli got the medal, best on, only 21 as well, and Ryder kicked some big goals and ended up with 4 for the day.
Yeah,
So the 2 boys have stamped their authority.
Now the association, my sister used to be on the board at Nuri, down at the Barossa there, and it is a fantastic league.
Yeah, it's so strong at the minute.
Have you kept an eye on it over your time at Centrals, and then all of a sudden you sort of come back and you say, well, I know I've got to perform.
Yeah.
This is not going to be an easy step at all because it is a tough league.
Definitely, yeah. Always going back watching a few games. Whenever I go back and watch Angaston play, they've struggled, but not through them being a poor club. It's just been so strong, and they've
So
been
strong,
built,
yeah.
The league's just been built and built every year. There's a stronger team comes every year. Such big names. Barossa just recruited off the charts one year in 2015. You got Miles Philibert and Ops all come back, and all of a sudden every other team had to catch up.
Have you got a feel for who some of your big competition clubs are? I mean, is Nuri up there again, or?
Well, I haven't played Newry, but I've seen Tanunda and Gore South early, and they've both been really strong competition, really well drilled, really good on the spread, elite skills. So I think they'll probably be a benchmark. I think Freeling have had a really big start as well.
And it was a tight game last week for you guys.
Yeah, a bit too tight.
Was too tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a shame going down that late in the game, especially when we did so much right.
What happened? Last 30 seconds. What's going on?
Yeah. We had it locked up for about 5 minutes. We were 5 points in front with 5 minutes to play.
Oh, don't tell me.
We had it locked up. Ball spit out the back of a pack, and Lee Westhoff on the end of another one, and he's too stupid to miss those ones. Can't give
And
those
put it through.
chances.
You've lost by a point.
Yeah.
Oh.
Brother of Justin as well, so obviously great players in the book. And big recruit in the off season, obviously none bigger than Steve Summerton, straight from Port Magpies. Star, he's got best on the weekend. How many do you reckon he's had on the weekend?
Oh, I reckon he would have at least 45.
45p.
Mind you, Bomber would have something to say about not being the biggest recruit at Angaston. So
Mark Bornholm.
Yeah,
He is, although Jack at Osborne made him look small the first week, I thought.
yeah, well, Osborne's just a big boy, but at the same time, Bomber's just such a competitor. He's just plows through every time. I think he was just about leveled most of the contests.
I was just going to say, would you still look to resurrect your SNFL career? I mean, is that something that you'd like to?
Definitely.
Let's get some stability, in a couple of seasons for your own, your body obviously and your confidence, and then perhaps have another crack at it.
Well, that was the plan.
Yeah,
originally, going
fantastic.
back
Well
to
done. Yeah.
Angaston and then moving on from there. I knew the league was going to be so strong. I
Yeah.
wanted my footy as good as possible, play against the best people possible. And
Yeah.
Angaston and the Barossa league seemed like the best place to do it.
Good call. Yeah.
Sample.
And mate, let's talk a bit about you for a second. The boys have sent me in some stuff to
Good. I like
stitch
this.
Ryder
Good,
up,
good,
so
good.
we'll have a bit of fun.
Stitcher tonight, actually.
Yeah, tried to. Your old man loves a beer, loves a bet, and loves the races as well.
He does.
Now the boys have said the way you got home from Adelaide Cup this year. They want to know how you got home and who was it with?
How he did or how I did?
How you?
Oh,
did.
is that right?
Oh, nah. Nearly in the back of a bloody Domino's delivery. Nah, I was with with a girl that I met that night. She's lovely. How you going, Sarah? Yeah. But yeah, I didn't actually go back to my place. It's too far away, so she got a lift home. But her
In
old
the back
man-
of a Domino's.
No, in the back of her old man's car.
Yeah, right.
Met the dad a bit early for me.
Yeah, it certainly
Just
is.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And mate, the scar next to the eye, I've heard it's not a football-related injury. How have you done that?
No, that was more stupidness on the piss again. Yeah, don't go dancing around stainless steel ceiling fans. That's all.
Oh. There's a warning for you, so that's a good tip. That's your Easter tip for everyone.
Safe advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. And lastly, a massive Pies fan. And the boys still let you know about Dom Sheed's goal to win the grand final last year.
Yeah.
Still hurts.
Still hurts. I still haven't. I reckon I watched the replay for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and it still stung. Tommy Ryan and Jay Cood, both massive Eagles supporters, and I haven't lived that one down. I don't know for a long time.
Tommy is the one that sent in the dirt, so of course you get that one in.
He's got his ear to the ground.
Because of 1990, I don't feel sorry for you at all.
No, but you
At all. Not one little bit.
You
So the year, it's early days. Great to be back into, you're from Angaston, so
Yeah.
have your parents and your family watching you week in, week out must be something pretty special
Yeah,
as well.
that was a big thing as well.
Yeah.
They've managed to be able to get some time off work, get down, especially like all the grown-ups, so many family friends around Angaston as well, to get to see
Yeah.
them, get to walk down to the shops and say, how you going?
Yeah.
On a Sunday morning or something. It's been really good just to be around that kind of close-knit community again.
It's nice that community, isn't it? You've got the netballs going on
It's great.
across the oval, and
It's
you've got your juniors playing right up to the seniors, and it's just a great feel.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing as well, one of the last things Tommy sent me, you're not the only one that's happy that your mum's been able to come down and watch. A few of the boys are quite happy that your mum's there.
Oh, no.
Oh, you can't start talking like that.
Better go home,
What's
so
going
that-
on?
Oh, this is all straight from
Is that
the
right?
boys. Yeah.
Start
I might interview her next time.
She's busy, I reckon.
Oh, is that right?
They run the Gawler Caravan Park down in Gawler as well.
Okay,
beautiful,
fantastic.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Slippery. We're going to catch up for a beer and get him to do some advertising with the SA Footballer. That's for sure.
Well, all the very, very best for the season, coming,
very
and,
much,
and,
yeah.
and also for your upcoming career as well. It's just great to see that the light's still there to play SNS, NFL in years to
very
come.
much.
So I hope it goes really well for you.
Cheers.
We're back shortly. And now we're on the couch with Ando. I want to introduce Steve Jaguar. Welcome, and thanks for joining us on Ando's On the Couch.
Thank you, Anno.
And look, I've got to say, 1980 was your first year. Played over 100 games for Woodville West Torrens, but Woodville in the early days. How'd you get to come to?
Well, I was a local boy. Grew up at
you'd been a
Findon, and Woodville was in our zone.
Yeah.
Even though I had black in one eye and white in the other as a kid, and my parents were all Port Adelaide and lived down at sort of Queenstownish way. I'd play under 17s at Woodville, and then jump in the car and head off straight to wherever Port were playing, even if it was at Elizabeth. Go and watch Port play, and then just sort of progressed through there and went from 17s, and the next year hope I could make the under 19s as a first year player. When you're little and you think, geez, it's going to be hard up there.
How do you get that little?
So actually, they were short in a reserves trial after all our pre-season, and they asked a few of us young guys out, Ian Depp and myself and a couple of others, and we rocked up to this reserves trial, didn't know anyone. The coach didn't even know who I was, and said, "What's your name? Where did you play last year?" And I said, "Oh, in centre occasionally and on ball." And he goes, "All right, you can have a second ruck roving spot, half forward flank." And Dedo got a back pocket, and then the other young blokes got on the bench, and that was it. So, and I just had 3/4 of that fluke game you have very rarely. I don't have it very often. And Barry Goodingham was the coach at the time, 6'9", and he's gone, "Who's that little kid out there? Get him off."
Was he from North Melbourne?
North Melbourne originally,
yeah.
So 3/4 time, I had the first aid guy and a team manager come and say, "Come off and sit on the bench for the league." I've gone, "Who, me?" Anyway, I got tired. He didn't give me a run because my legs were buggered by then, playing against men, and played in a couple of league trials after that, and 2 reserves games, and then first league game against Port at Footy.
Because that's amazing. Really, because I know you
didn't play one of the 19s game.
Because your father was out at Port Adelaide.
Yes.
And I would say that your whole family was just black and white.
Correct.
How did your family cope with Oh, hang on. Steve's going to go and play for Port Adelaide, for Woodville. I reckon Granny wouldn't be too happy.
Yeah, well, my grandmother lived at Rosewater, and she
That's
said,
what I knew that.
She said, move in with me because you'll be in the port zone and whatever. And yeah, so unfortunately, I couldn't do that. We're in the Woodville zone, so I stayed there, and that was it. 12 years later, I gave it away. So.
Now, I've got to thank Rachel Laurie from Ray White Real Estate at North Adelaide for Endo's on the Couch, which is great. Now, what about some of the characters here? I mean, they're just fantastic names at Woodville in those days. You know, it must have been brilliant to play alongside of some real big names.
Oh, well, when you grow up as a sort of in that area, you know all the players. You know, I had John Cummins, who was probably not a household name, but he was a great half-forward flanker, on-baller, centreman. He looked a bit like Barry Robran, but he was a freak player, and obviously Ralph Sewer and Max Parker and Lindsay Heaven and Kevin Harris came and played with me at Woodville, and you know Ox was an unbelievable player, as good as anyone that played the game through the 80s.
The real characters of the game, weren't they?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's probably something that for our viewers out there that are probably a bit too young, and some of the names that we're mentioning, that back in those 80s and 70s, we're talking about a game that you were able to be a real character in, and there were some, you know, as you said, household names, and you got to play with and against some beauties.
Yeah, well, it wasn't quite as strict, perhaps off the field, even though the majority of us never drank during the week. And obviously, you've heard some about Grenville Dietrich and some stories about the occasional guys that have a drink midweek. But most of us were semi-professional. We still worked, but we took it very seriously and didn't drink. But you could have a bit of fun off the field, like after the game, and on a Sunday and a Monday was when we went out with local footballers and mates that played against us. And you know, the characters that we played against were just as big as the ones we played with.
Do you think the game enabled characters in the way of an actual camaraderie? Because, you know, a little melee, I don't think it ever hurt anyone, but you're able to really stick up for your Guernsey. And I think that built that really strong team bond, you know, in that sort of era of footy.
Well, I mean, we're both parents, so you understand that you don't want your children to get hurt.
No.
And my parents didn't want me to get hurt either. But when you cross that line, it is a bit of war, and you've got to put the flag in the ground. And if someone goes down, you've got to be there to support. And we all went down. None of us wanted the behind the melees or any king hits or anything like that. But if someone hits you up front, and it's your turn to give it back to them, you did in those days. And we've all got scars to prove it. But it's a fine line between being too rough and not rough enough. But my daughter's played netball all her life, and you think football's tough. These netballers, they're as tough as us footballers, and they were non-contact sport. It's as rough as Billy-O's. So back in the 80s, it was like that, and it was great fun. And like I said, we went to war on the field, but off the field we'd have a drink with all our opposition, and we got to know the umpires, we got to know we got to know everybody around that area. It was an amazing time. Great.
And what about work? I mean, you during, as you said, you're semi-professional. What did you balance it with?
Well, I was a policeman when I first left school for all through my footy career, basically for 12 years, and then I moved into after that I moved into lots of sales games. And I was a booze rep for 10 years, and I sold radio advertising and mortgage broking, and now I'm back in sales now with a company called Maximum Energy. We do
good guys there, good prices too. You told me.
Yeah, we do
good
LED
prices.
lighting and solar and batteries, and we're a one-stop shop. But you know, we're all about sort of helping out to reduce your power bills, and that's what we do. But it's in sales now.
Did the police did it know you to give a really good balance, or was it quite hard? Because I know there would have been shift work, and you've been balancing that, or it actually fit pretty well.
Well, it was tough at times. Like occasionally we'd have to do a night shift where you'd start work at 11 o'clock at night, finish at 7 in the morning, try and go home and sleep for 4 or 5 hours, get up, have something, and then get to go and play a game. So that was difficult, but depends on where you worked, and you tried to balance where you worked with what type of role you could play in football and sport. And the police force are very good with allowing us to try and get the trainings when we could and so forth. So you picked a job that you could cover that. So
I mean, football's been a huge part of your life. I mean, I know from your own playing, you went into sort of coaching, and then assistant coaching with your son doing brilliantly in SNFL, and then into the amateur league with Foss Candom. So that I mean, it's been a real journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, coaching is something I like doing. I love doing the juniors. I didn't like it that much at senior level. It's a real balancing act when you come from being a league footballer to coach amateur league when they're amateurs and they're not getting paid the money and they're not expectations aren't there. But as you know, you need to train to get better.
Gotta train,
But you
yeah.
don't want to be too hard on them, you can't be too soft on them, and that's the strength of a coach, is to find that balance. And then coach my son and all his grades through school, and Henley and juniors, and I love that, because you can be a real teacher of children. And my daughter playing netball and following them around, it's a great time of your life if you can mix it all in.
And in AFL football today, we see lots more changes. We've got more rule changes again for 2019, and you think they've set it pretty well in the competition?
Yeah, I'm probably from the old school a bit.
Yeah.
Stop making all the changes. But yeah, it's a difficult game to sort of understand now, when it's different to our day, where they're so fit now, and their running is just unbelievable. Even though we thought we were fit, now they're running, the kilometres they're running now is amazing. So but they're professional. You know how great would have been us not to have to work, and we could go to training. It would have been amazing to be involved in it now. But I don't mind watching it. I don't get over the top with it, but. Yeah, it's an amazing game, and I still love it, and it's good to be part of.
And I mean, I know you've spent a bit of time down at Foz Camden. What about those new club rooms down there? I just want to give amazing.
Yeah, they're
fantastic.
Yeah, they're supposed to be ready very soon, hopefully next month, and the boys will play all their away games in the first part of the year, but then they'll come home with that. So yeah. Like a lot of clubs now, with girls coming in, they're getting government grants to extend and build on, and knock the old club rooms down and build brand new ones. It's going to be an absolutely a ripper, and it'll be a really nice place to come and be, and for your families, and it's a really nice place to be.
One of your most memorable games. I mean, I know you've played well over 150, in a really tough era and a great era, and there must be a couple that stand out.
Always your first one.
Yeah, of course.
Especially when I really honestly thought.
How'd you find out? How did you find out when?
Oh, they told me during the week that you're getting very close.
Yeah.
Train Tuesday night.
Coach came up to you?
Yeah, Barry Whittingham, he's 6'9".
Yeah,
I was like a little boy. Yes,
and
sir.
he said you had a chance this week.
Yeah, he said things could fall your way. We've been really impressed with what you've done the last 2 weeks, and on Thursday night he'd come up to training and said you're in. So. That was an amazing thing to tell your mum and dad and family and friends.
Grandma, she handled that okay?
No, she was tough.
Especially against Port
Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Against Port.
Yeah.
She didn't know who to barrack for, but she would have been like for me to get a kick, but they beat us by about 130 odd points or something in my
that's a
first
hard day,
game.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
try and get a kick. And I'm standing him and Spoof Valetic and all these guys. I try and chase those guys around all day. It was a tough task, but that was great. And to play your 100th, and Malcolm dropped me for my 100th. So the kids built all the banner and got all the media attention. Then he dropped me for one game, and so that was tough. But then came back the following week.
Played plenty more. That's
we didn't have many wins. So to have a win was an amazing thing for us, and to hang around the club rooms and change rooms after, and see all the supporters and all the people, the volunteers that hadn't won many games, and to see how happy they were. That was an amazing thing.
Worth it. That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, Port won bloody 20 games every year, so you guys got sick of it, I suppose. But now Woodville supporters, they were so loyal, and to give them a win, it was and that's why '86, when we went from nearly bottom to top, it would have been amazing for them. Yeah, it was special.
Steve, thanks so much for joining me on the couch.
Thanks.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
And again, thanks very much for Rachel Laurie from Ray White Real Estate at North Adelaide. Back shortly. And now the stock report, of course, thanks to Taylor Collison, led by my great friend of mine, David Pittman. So thank you very much for the sponsorship. Brilliant.
Oh, fantastic, mate! And
You're going to
what a
drill
show
me with some
tonight.
questions, aren't you, at the moment?
We are, mate. We're gonna do the stock report, the buy, sell or hold.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll start with the Crows, and I was a very happy man on the weekend, finally getting our first win, North Melbourne.
Of course you would have been.
So
but you wouldn't have been happy halfway during that second quarter.
No.
I can't believe that Crows just disappeared. That's all it was like.
It was certainly an interesting game. Not a great weekend for South Australian football.
And look, I mean, Port should be 4-0. They really should be. They should have beaten, of course, was it Brisbane the week before, and then they should have beaten Richmond last week.
They should have, but we'll stick on the Crows.
Yeah.
Buy, sell or hold?
Oh, look,
on the
there's
top
no question
four.
hold. Purely because they'll get it together. It's their disposals that they're just too many turnovers, and it's got to wear you down, and that's what's happening. They are, going. I mean, we know that. There's issues with probably Josh Jenkins and their other key, Tex Walker, with taking more marks, but it's still, you've got to be able to kick the ball to the contest. give them a chance. And actually, there are other options, shorter. They're not using them, you know. So I think they'll come good.
We're very quick to jump on the back, aren't we, and blame the first couple of key forwards. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a key forward.
And it was funny because Port played like it last week. They from half back to the wing and then into the centre, then back into the centre. They had great control, and then it was that final kick into the forward line. You know, they weren't even close to their teammates, and the Crows did the same thing.
And on that, do you think Crows top 4 contender, or they're just going to push in the 8?
Look, they'll win this week, and I reckon the Crows seem to be a team that can have a run on, you know, and I still think they could be in the top 4.
And we've spoken about him already, Josh Jenkins.
Look, I would, you know, it's really funny, and I would just like to see Josh perhaps given a bit of an opportunity when things are stale up forward. Maybe, I reckon he might have been okay on Brown. You know, he's a natural basketballer, which are natural defenders. He's 6'6", he moves, you know, brilliantly, and he could have defended because and Tali actually come to the club as a full forward.
Yep.
You know, we weren't going to win the game. You know, I think maybe try him somewhere else. He could probably be a lot more versatile than what he's showing. I like to hold him.
Yep, holding, he'll come good.
Yeah.
So,
what about you? Hang on.
you know what
There's a lot of Crow supporters out there.
A lot of Crows.
It's sort of like you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm.
You're selling, aren't you?
I'm selling. I'm giving him a run in the twos.
Okay.
Although the person that I'll bring up was Fogarty, and I believe he got a week.
Okay.
He got a week SNFL suspension, so maybe you don't. You sit on him, but I'm giving him a week in the twos. The Gold Coast Suns surprise packet.
Yeah, well, in the top 8. You know, as it's St Kilda and Brisbane, no one ever thought those 3 would be 3-1. That's for sure. So they're doing nice. They're doing very nicely. I don't think they'll sustain to be able to stay in the 8.
Yep.
But they'll shake it around this first half of the season for sure.
So on that, you're buying, selling, holding.
In the 8.
You just on the Gold Coast Suns. Are they going to finish in the 8? Yeah.
Oh no, sell.
Sell.
Yeah,
Yep.
they won't make the 8.
Take the money.
Yeah, take the money. You know how many times I've been wrong in this game? So please.
I was very happy, man, tipping them on the weekend. I needed it. My tips were shocking before that. But interesting one.
Did you feel for when they kicked that goal? You know, they zoned in onto the Carlton bench, and you just had to feel so sorry for them. And nothing's gone right for that club for so many years now. You know, and it was like throw the paper up. You know, can we have any more worse luck than we were getting?
Yeah, I was watching Chris Judd on getting absolutely grilled on Footy Classified, and I just felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
Like, what can you say? You've said the same thing over and over again,
That's
but
right.
maybe something's got to change there. But interesting one, Harley Bennell from Fremantle, Bennell, I should say. Sorry, huge prospect, some really good footy at the Gold Coast Suns. Obviously, a lot of the media reports, a lot of off-field incidents. What are you buying, selling, or you're holding on him if you're Freo?
I'm holding. It's an investment, and you know, some of those off-field things, you got to work at what the actual issue is. You just can't say, well, out you get. Let's work because they are human. You know, and it was interesting. We were talking to Steve Jackie earlier about sort of yesteryear and the fun people had off the field, and you know, nowadays because of the media and the pressure and the tension they're all under. You know, it's so quick to, you know, that they just whack them straight in the paper, and quite often, you know,
they crucify them.
It's a storm.
Yeah,
you know.
And we spoke about his brother just in the country segment, kicking the final goal to beat Angaston on the weekend. But Justin Westhoff, quick to jump off him.
Well, you know, please, can you take him out from full forward and just put him where he won his best and fairest, and that was around the ball and around the back line. The delivery in the forward line was especially after half time was. You know, it was embarrassing. You know, like I reckon there was a couple of Richmond players that they must have looked at their Guernsey going, I must have a Port Guernsey on because they keep kicking to me. Yeah. And look, it doesn't matter who's up there. You know, if you can't deliver the ball and with the numbers coming back on you as quickly as they do, you got no chance.
No, I agree.
But he's so good as that
so talented
player around that link-up player. He's a good kick. He's a strong kick.
He's the Tom Lynch.
Exactly.
He's Port Adelaide's Tom Lynch, and they're trying to play him out of full forward. Yeah. So you're saying hold? I'm
saying sell on the forward line. Let's buy him back on the ball where he won his best and fairest.
So coaching change.
Well, no coaching change because of the fact there's issues. behind that as well. No Charlie Dixon, they've lost some players, and he's always been a stopper for them, hasn't he? He always seems to be
Yeah,
the go-to, and he's at the moment he's the go-to because they haven't got a player to go up there.
Yep. No. Absolutely, mate. All done for another week. The stock
Well, that's,
report.
I'm sweating.
It's only going to get harder and harder by the looks.
Oh,
It's
no, that's
certainly
a good
ramping it
call.
up.
So, yeah, of course, thanks very much to Taylor Collison, really great supporters, and of course David Pittman. So thanks very much again for joining us this week. We've had a lot of fun,
Been
had some
good.
great guests, and thanks again to the Alma Hotel, brilliant, and some of our, it's great doing it live.
It
You know,
is.
it's absolutely fantastic to get a lot of fun people having a bit of a laugh and enjoying the show. So we look forward to seeing you next week.